Good evening. Just in case you thought wokeness, which is an extreme manifestation of political correctness, hadn't completely lost the plot, I give you Exhibit A biological male schoolteacher in Canada that identifies as female who insists on wearing a pair of enormous prosthetic breasts in the classroom. Why does she do this, do you suppose? Is it her desire to have a more feminine silhouette? Perhaps there's a practical element to this. I guess the boobs may act as a buffer if she gets shoved against the wall in a busy corridor. Or perhaps just maybe this individual gets a sexual kick from children having to look at her capacious cleavage. The teacher went viral after being filmed operating a cut-off saw, not the only thing that could take your eye out. She was operating this device in the classroom whilst wearing tight black shorts and balloon-like breasts drooping around the waist in a tight striped top. Other images taken by pupils at the school in Oakville, which is 20 miles outside Toronto, showed the same teacher in other outfits with huge nipples protruding from the fake bust. Some disturbed pupils have skipped classes held by the industrial arts teacher, who began identifying as female last year, according to the Toronto Sun. The school in question has defended the teacher, of course they have. But I think they've made a boob here. My balls dropped to the floor when I saw this story, and the teacher is making a right tit of herself. I'll keep you abreast of the situation, but that story will stay long in the memory. Look, we've seen this before, folks. At the extreme end of wokeism, a deeply toxic and highly illiberal ideology, with ultra-left figures arguing that paedophiles should be rebranded as minor attracted adults. Welcome to hell. We've seen drag artists in the UK invited to primary schools, one called Miss Testicle. Charming. These are artists whose nightclub acts are highly inappropriate for a young audience, and whose outrageous and gender-bending outfits have no place in an educational setting. So why is this happening? Well, because wokeism, something devoid of morality, has infiltrated not only our media, our corporations, remember Halifax and the he, him, she, her badges. It's obviously infiltrated our universities, which are now doubling up as indoctrination centres. But most disturbingly, it has entered our schools. Children are being taught that they may be in the wrong body and they can be any gender. Trans ideology, which questions the existence of biological sex or that there's such a thing as a biological man or a biological woman, is clearly an attempt to erase women. Ask any feminist. Ask any lesbian in particular, who are now called bigots if they're not attracted to a woman with a penis. Now, I'm no expert on lesbians, but let me tell you, they're not in the penis business. And it seems that gender altogether is being erased, and that the way that these nutters seek to achieve it is to start with our young. Get them brainwashed early into thinking they're in the wrong body, or creating the idea that everyone is just on a gender spectrum. Let me tell you that whilst I'm very pro-trans and have many friends who have been on that important and joyous journey, none of this should be the domain of the classroom. And this doesn't end well, folks, as we saw within the notorious Tavistock Centre, which was closed down because of the circumstances in which countless children and young people were placed on puberty blockers and had organs surgically removed because their depression or other psychological issues were misdiagnosed as gender dysphoria. For scores of those young people as they enter adulthood with no breasts or reproductive systems that have been adulterated or removed, there's no turning back. They can't have kids. They can't have normal sexual relationships. Their lives have been ruined. Their bodies butchered on the altar of wokeism. By tolerating and normalising the likes of this creepy teacher in Canada or drag shows for kids here in the UK, we're permitting a crime against our young people and are effectively turning a blind eye to state-sponsored child abuse. It's time to bring back learning, education and innocence for children at school. And it's time to keep sex and gender out of the classroom.